I am the technical one.
It's R2, not R2.
I was going to say.
It's R2.
Okay, where are the damn buttons here? Wow.
Story of your life, huh? Just can't find those buttons.
Can't find those buttons to push them. And
it's not your problem. Yeah. It's the machine's problem.
It totally is. We are live here at the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. Welcome aboard, sir.
Indeed. Oh yeah, you're talking to me. I was looking at the chat. I'm like, oh, you must be talking to them. Hey, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you. It's good to be seen. We got Danny from Comics and Cosmetics. Spencer Ubaldo is in the chat. Oh, and speaking of comics and cosmetics, I'm sporting one of her t-shirts right now as we speak. So check.
I'm supporting the only ticket that is viable this year.
I wore that. Was it 2 days ago? Yesterday? I just put it in the laundry. So
yeah, I've been wanting one for a while, and they just happen to have one where I was today.
Oh, very nice. We'll definitely be talking about that.
Yep.
And as you can see from our spiffy graphics tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about the XMen 97.
So
and I wasn't going to. Oh, Tim's talk is here. What's up, Tim? I wasn't. You had asked me a while ago if I had done an X-Men show, but I haven't. And actually, I was a little slow on the go when it comes to X-Men. I know Danny was hounding me night and day, texting me saying, "You've got to watch it. You've got to watch it." And I said to myself, "Yeah, I'll watch it whenever." I wasn't too eager to go and flip it on, but when I did. Holy moly.
You're welcome.
Holy moly. Charles is in the chat. Another one of our wonderful Red 5 Network podcasts. Charles
and
being
fine dungeon master as well.
Yes, half of Conversations podcast. If you guys are interested in laughing 24/7, or at least not 24/7, because you would have to be listening to them 24/7, which I recommend. But if you like laughing for about 50 to 62 minutes, well, you have to log on to the
all at
Conversations. Yes. But wonderful chats, wonderful topics. They just did a Sifo Diaz episode.
Oh, I'm going to check it out.
And
I haven't listened to that yet.
You know, Sifo Diaz is my cousin, right?
Really?
That's right, I say. That's Sifo Diaz.
It's a Sifo Diaz.
That's right. That's right. Spencer saying hi to the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. Spencer, what's up?
Hola, Spencer.
Hola, Spencer. Hola, Ubaldo. Hola, Comics and Cosmetics. And Charles. Yeah. So X-Men. Yeah, I was very surprised.
We got to talk about my other geeky stuff first.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I have to. Did you bring a drink? Did you bring an adult beverage?
Well, I'm going to get an adult. I brought a beverage. I'm going to need an adult beverage here in a minute, but
absolutely.
Yeah. But the beverage is, in case you haven't had it, Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar Strawberries and Cream, which is weirdly funky, delicious.
You know what? I would think it was funky delicious. I know the flavor. I love Dr. Pepper, but the strawberries and cream.
Yeah, there's a couple new flavors. There's that one, and there's like a coconuts and cream, and they're both good.
Funkily delicious.
Funkily delicious.
Yeah, I've got a LaCroix tangerine.
LaCroix is disgusting, man.
No, it's not.
That stuff is nasty.
Says the guy with the pink can.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, let's refresh our drink, and we'll be back. We'll be talking about X-Men 97, but first we got some other nerdy things to talk about. Stick around in the chat. There are some incredible things that are going to happen here at the Scarif Scuttlebutt.
Don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
Federation is now the ultimate power in the universe.
And welcome everyone to the Scuttlebutt Podcast, Saturdays ScarifLive, where we talk about nerdy things and we have fun with folks in the chat. Thank you, chat, for coming on by this Saturday. It was amazing. Chicago was beautiful. I spent all freaking day at the courthouse. There's a murder case that we're following, but that's neither here nor there. How was your day, Brad?
My day was actually really great, but you told me to get an adult beverage. So, in honor of DM Charles in the house, I'm drinking Dragon's Milk,
very nice,
bourbon barrel aged stout. So, cheers to you, Charles. Great job with the Red 5 Tavern. I'm glad it's been in good hands and quite the campaign that you ran there. So, good stuff there. But yeah, today went to the posted a picture on Twitter that we had the Tidewater Comic Con, which last time I went to was about 10 years ago. But it's a decent size convention. But I wanted to show off some of the goodies that I got out. And I told a couple of the vendors that I would give them a shout out because they're doing some really great stuff. Obviously, like I said, wearing the Palpatine Vader shirt. You can get these just about anywhere, but I had to get it while I was there.
Very nice.
If you're going to Alderaan, it's great this time of year. Alderaan, you'll be blown away.
Ouch.
Yeah. What's the forecast? 5 billion degrees.
Hashtag too soon?
No, never too soon.
And then what else you got?
Hold on. Okay, there we go. Computer's being dumb. Where'd I go?
You're there. You're not moving, though.
What is this computer doing?
Nicole is in the chat. Nicole, how's it going? Now is a good time to mention the Red 5 Reading Club. I think if you're into books, head on over to the socials and look for the Red 5 Reading. It's fantastic. Brad, did you fall in a ditch? No, maybe he didn't. But yes, everybody hit that, Charles. Hit that. I'm reading the chat here. Hit that like button.
Can you still hear me by any chance?
Yes, I can.
Wow, that's weird. Hold on. I'll be right back. Keep just, do what you do.
Keep talking amongst ourselves. Excellent. All right. As Brad situates himself, some more people have entered the chat. Actually, just Nicole, but thank you very much, Nicole, for coming on by. And really, as Brad situates himself, we're going to talk about his trip to a little comic convention. He posted some nice pictures of himself and little Brad, which were really nice. But yeah, it's funny, as parents, we take our kids to share with the geekdom. I remember taking my son to C2E2 for the very first time, and that was a lot of fun. We brought some of his friends. We took pictures in front of the Dalek and inside a TARDIS, and it's really fun to share your fandom with your kids if you have kids. Yes, Charles, YouTube couldn't handle the power of his T-shirt. That is hilarious. Very nice. Yes, Spencer. Guess you can say Brad got blown away. But, it wouldn't be the Scuttlebutt podcast without Brad and his computer problems. I'm sure he's updating it somewhere, and he's back.
Yeah, I wasn't going at all. Updates complete. Okay. That's the last time I'm leaving. Okay. I swear. Okay.
But yeah, you were showing us a shirt?
Yeah, and then this good old classic TIE Fighter shirt.
Oh, very nice. That reminds me, let's see. Oh, it's what do they call it? Ray trace art, ray art, something like that.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, do you remember the old Star Wars stand-up arcade game?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I love that. I almost bought one of those, but I realized that the maintenance on those machines might be a little expensive.
Yeah, but when I get my man cave, we're getting one of those. But I told a couple of the vendors that I want to give them a shout out.
Okay,
And
perfect.
one is he's making a comic book.
Oh, nice.
It's entitled Two Land.
Two Land.
They made up their own hero, whose name is Drip, but it stands for Do Right, Inspire People.
Okay.
And what they do is they've made this character, and he fights crime and all that, but they use all the money that they're getting from that, and they're going into schools, and it's to combat like bullying and stuff like that. So doing really great stuff. Again, that's the number 2-land, and we just followed them on X. I'll provide everybody a link to that later. But when you talk about people doing good things, this is like he started talking, and of course he had his spiel down, like he was just wrapping it off. Like, but this is a great, and they're going all over. They're going to all these schools, going in there talking about bullying and having value for yourself, and really great stuff. So, and got two of them. Got the
hold on
special for two of them, and
pull that up again.
The superhero named Drip is pretty cool.
Very nice.
So yeah, it's a comic book, and it's actually really beautiful art in there. A lot better than you can get in some of the big, the big three.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check them out. Two Land. Again, the superhero's name is Drip, and Do Right, Inspire People is what it stands for.
Very nice.
But yeah, and you can follow them. Let me put this up there. Ooh. Two Land Comic
on Twitter. Oh, and everywhere. That's great.
Yep. So check them out. That was really good stuff. And the other vendor I said I would give a shout out to. She makes postcards and tumblers and everything else. Here is her information. Stands for fangirling over Jesus is what the FOJ stands for. So FOJ, but got a nice tumbler, Thrawn.
Oh, very nice.
Pull that back. Let's say I required no glory, only results. That's a good one. And got this nice Hawaiian Ahsoka.
Oh, tumbler. Wow, that's nice.
And this one actually glows in the dark.
Wow.
Which was really cool. And had to get the postcards.
Very nice.
And she was very excited when I bought this one. I was telling Ro right before we started, it's a postcard, and it says, "Welcome aboard from the ISD." Sorry for the glare. The ISD Chimera. Anybody in the chat can mention which ship that is, whose ship that is. She was so excited because apparently nobody understood that reference, and I immediately saw it and knew the reference.
Only real Star Wars fans, right?
Only real ones that know how to spell R2. A Thrawn button. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Camera.
There you go.
And had to get a red 5. Woo, glare. Good Very job, nice. Buddy. And last one. Had to get it. Hello there.
General Kenobi. Very nice. Very nice.
So again, those check out Two Land Comics all over the place with their new superhero, doing good stuff there. And check out Fangirling Over Jesus. She's based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. She travels to all the different conventions. Check out her stuff. Very nice vendor. And I was telling Ro earlier, Ray Park was there. Obviously, Darth Maul. Tried to see him. There was some confusion. I was not able to get his signature. I'm sure I'll be going to plenty more conventions in the future.
Yeah.
I would definitely love to get his signature on some stuff. Integral part of the Star Wars universe. But it was nice to see him. He's still looking good, still doing his thing.
Excellent.
Tidewater Comic-Con, if you're ever in the Virginia Beach area, definitely check it out.
Excellent. And Brad and I want to say hello to DJ from the Exegesis. Thank you very much for joining. And I hope you are doing good wherever you are. I know DJ's been traveling a lot for work and such, but wherever you are, thank you for joining us here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. So happy Star Wars month, Brad. It is May, and we have been celebrating all month, talking a little bit about Star Wars Episode 1. And you joined me a couple weeks ago. We did a live discussion, and then we recorded another show for the future. But so we just dropped an episode with the folks over at Use and Abuse podcast, which includes Nicole, who's in the chat as well. Talked a little bit about the music of Star Wars Episode 1. And it's funny because, as I asked you, I know everybody says the safe answer, which is not really a bad thing when you ask someone,
it's good.
What your favorite song is from Episode 1. Everybody obviously says Duel of the Fates. But like I said during the intro of that episode that I dropped on Thursday, there is no wrong answer when you come to Star Wars music. John Williams is a master at what he does, and he has blessed us with his legacy, Star Wars music, and not only Star Wars but any of the other franchises that he has touched. Is also a winner. Absolutely.
I mean, like Episode 3, everybody obviously talks about Battle of the Heroes, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, but I always tell people Padme's ruminations on there, where Anakin's debating whether he needs to, stay put or go fight the Emperor. And, that's, to me, like between that and like Anakin's dark deeds, like those are bangers, man. And so like you said, there's no wrong answer to that. And we talked about that a little bit in the intro to your show there with Use and Abuse podcast.
Absolutely. So I just realized that we are live here on May 18th. Next weekend is May 25th, the real Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
What do we have planned?
On Memorial Day.
On Memorial Day. What do we have planned, Brad? Do you want to come back live and talk Star Wars, or will you be shoving your mouth with hot dogs and burgers? What are you doing?
Well, I mean, we got to do something. We got plenty. Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I'll probably be stuffing my face with hot dogs while talking Star Wars. But yeah, no, we got to do something for the real Star Wars Day.
For the real Star Wars Day.
That's what is that? Yeah, that's next Saturday, huh?
That is next Saturday.
So, we're going to do something. We got to do it up.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, we talked with Jimmy Mack from Rebel Force Radio, and we sat down with him and talked Star Wars. That was a lot of fun. Go check that interview out. I think I put it in the audio feed as well as the YouTube channel, so check that out. We also talked with, who else did we talk on May 25th? I think it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, it wasn't
Claudia Gray.
Yeah, the being able to talk with Claudia Gray on we've spoken obviously publicly. Everything we do on here is public knowledge, but we've kind of criticized a lot of the current writers for the Star Wars universe. But Claudia Gray, she gets it, and she understands the characters really well. So that was an exciting conversation. That was an honor to have a conversation with her.
Yeah, that was quite a treat. So please go check that out. Speaking of Scarif replay, every so often I will post a hashtag Scarif replay, and I kind of feature an old episode of the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. Sometimes I remember some of the wonderful conversations and wonderful guests that we've had, both famous and not so famous. One of the things that I love about podcasting is just being able to talk to, not only other Red 5 network podcasts, but people that follow us, people that also have some other shows. And I really, really enjoy interacting and sharing our love for what it is that we love. Our episode where you and I talk about bad guys and redemption continues to be one of our biggest downloads. I find that intriguing and I love it. I appreciate the love, and we are, we're getting up there in the follows. I'm sorry, in the downloads. It's been amazing.
Yeah, and I want to thank you for doing this with me. Like the opportunity, like when we got to talk with Steve Sansweet, like
Oh, that's right.
I never thought that would be a thing. Like it, meeting him at a con and is one thing, but being able to have an in-depth conversation with him about Rancho Obi-Wan, like that was amazing.
That was great.
I bought his book, the encyclopedia, which hopefully just about everybody has in their collection. I bought that 25 years ago at least now. Yeah. And then to be able to interview him that many years later,
right,
that was an honor. But yeah, I'm happy to be back, and we've already come up with so many ideas for upcoming episodes. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And Nicole has reminded me that next week is also another On the Fives episode. So tune into the Red 5 Network channel for that. And she's also reminded me, which I think I'm going to be sad because I might skip it this year. The Joliet Star Wars Day in 2 weeks. It's an amazing get together from the Joliet, Illinois Library holds this wonderful event. I mean, they close the streets down. They prepare the streets for a huge Star Wars parade. Fans and 501st and cosplayers. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then we've got we usually get to meet some authors there. The book that I just sent you, Kenobi.
John Jackson Miller.
Yes, he's going to be there. There's some other
we got to get him on the show.
That would be amazing. Yes, yes. And he's approachable. He's easy to hang out. You know who else is approachable? And I always have it here because it's a really great cover. Charles Soule.
Yeah. Charles is amazing.
Yeah, we should have him on the show as well.
And you mentioned I want to just give a shout out to you mentioned cosplayers a minute ago. And just a shout out in general to anybody who's ever dared to cosplay. I mentioned on the show, I've never been brave enough to do it. But anybody, no matter how much work you put into your, your whatever you're wearing, a uniform, costume, whatever it is, however fancy it is, just kudos to you for doing that, because that it takes a lot of self-confidence and and just courage to do that. And so kudos to anybody who's ever cosplayed anything. Doesn't matter how fancy it was, good job. And it's good to see. We saw a lot of it today at Tidewater Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And some were just basic costumes, and then some were full blown Mandalorians out there, Boba Fett was out there, Imperials, and then to see little kids dressed up as Jedi, that's, and then passing that on to your kids, that's what it's all about. And just proud of everybody out there for being able to do that.
Yeah, it's cool. Living in Chicago, we have quite a few fan conventions and get-togethers. Nicole and a couple of us just went to C2E2 a couple of weekends ago, and it's always wonderful just to kind of see the cosplays. It's wonderful to see the complexity too, and the range of the work that is involved in putting one of these costumes together. The other day, I was just flipping through YouTube and watching somebody do kind of like a DIY of how to prep a mask or even a shoulder pauldron. And they're like, you got to sand it, you got to 3D print it, you got to cut it, you got to wet sand it, you got to prime it. I'm like, you know what? That's too much work. So I commend all of those cosplayers for doing what they do. Really, it's quite commendable.
Yeah,
and very, very complicated. I've got a couple of outfits that I wish I had more time to do something with, but it's a lot of work.
And everybody knows the 501st, and thank you to the 501st for all the stuff that you guys do, all the charity work. Don't forget, there's also the Mando Mercs out there. For anybody who hasn't heard of them, they are hardcore about what they do too. So shout out to the Mando Mercs out there too.
Absolutely. I want to go back to something you said regarding the comic book and the cause that they chose, because I think it's important. You and I are fathers,
Yep.
and I think it's important to kind of be able to talk about their cause. We kind of glossed over it a little bit, but I think it's important. I know you had found a post on social media just recently regarding a very tragic incident that happened regarding bullying,
Yeah.
and I think that's horrible. But when we get on social media, I know sometimes we've said it before. A lot of people hide behind the keyboard, and it would be a lot different if we were face to face. And I think a lot of that is true. We you and I know we goof around with a lot of people, but I'm hoping that we never cross the line as far as ribbing them about whatever it is in this fake fantasy galaxy. But it's tragic that folks kind of have to deal with bullying either online or in person. I think it's horrible for young people to kind of go through that. But one thing that you did say that kind of is intriguing to me is the ability, the self confidence, I guess, too, that
Yeah.
that is needed, especially if you are younger. You and I are older gentlemen, Brad, but a lot of young folks, when they get on social media, I think they, for the most part, sometimes they're missing a certain aspect of their personality, and obviously that is no excuse for bullying or engaging in bullying activities. But I think it's be confident in yourself, enjoy what your passions are, and don't be afraid to voice your opinions on stuff. I think it's important to say that.
Yeah, and one of my favorite speeches ever, from Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena. It's real easy for the critic to talk about you, to insult you, but he's never known victory nor defeat. The man in the arena speech is completely what it's all about. And anybody who uses social media should read that. And the when people have the audacity to make fun of somebody that cosplays, because maybe they don't have the what we consider to be the best figure or whatever the case may be, to be in a especially like the women that wear the Leia outfit, whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it slave Leia or you want to call it Hut Slayer, whatever you want to call it. That would you ever have the? Well, I hope you wouldn't, but no one wants to see you in that outfit. But to have
I just DM'd you with my pictures.
I've already got that. It's already in the folder. But to have the courage to get in that outfit, and then for anybody to make fun of or try to belittle that. And the article Rose referring, we don't want to be downers tonight while we're talking about X-Men, but it was about a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
A 10-year-old that committed suicide, 10 years old, because he was being bullied because he had glasses and this and that. Absolutely not. Social media and what these guys, what Two-Land is doing with this comic book, this is the stuff that we need to latch onto, right? This sort of project right here. And that's what social media should be used for, right? For there's a reason why Yoda says, quicker, more seductive, right? That is the dark side. And it is so easy for us to just to embrace that, and just start dogpiling, right? I felt it a few years ago online, and it's harsh, and it's just as for most people, it's just as real as real life, what you feel on social media. So there is absolutely no reason to do that. And a lot of stuff we're saying, is good segue to the X-Men. Sure. And why Stan Lee started the X-Men in the first place.
Right.
I'm sure most people know by now the parallels of what was going on in society at that time. But you had Professor Xavier, who was embodied all the things that Martin Luther King was talking about that at that time. They're protecting people that hate and fear them, and that was what was going on in the country at the time. And you had Magneto on the flip side, who in many cases embodied things like folks like Malcolm X would talk about. Right, you're gonna hurt my people, so I'm here to protect them and them only, and everybody else, be damned. So he drew a lot of parallels from what was happening in society and threw that into the X-Men. And I think that's why people can relate to the X-Men so much easier, and the rest of Marvel comics much easier than they can like DC comics. It's really hard to relate to Superman. Superman's a god, and most of the rest of the DC universe is as well. Yeah, and Spencer, great point in the chat. 1975, Chris Claremont taken over. Like X-Men was pretty much dead by 1975, and then Claremont just took it to another level at that point, and still focusing on a lot of the, with Warpath and his brother, focused on a lot of the things, the same things, and that's why X-Men resonates so much with people. Like, Jubilee in the X-Men, like no one can relate. She's a teenager. No one can relate to her, and she feels isolated. Like that's, people can relate to that.
Right.
And that's why, I've been, Danny and I have been, we've been gushing about this all week because, I've been reading X-Men since 1990, and it's stuck with me. And that's why X-Men 97 is such a great nod to all that stuff. But long-winded segue there.
No, but that's true. I think we have to take a look at some of the elements of entertainment and step back. Really, I mean, obviously they're created to entertain us, but I like when our entertainment kind of is embedded with little life lessons. I think that's why science fiction in general works as well as it does. Folks would dismiss comic book stories as just kid stuff, and I think if you would kind of break apart some of the a lot of the kid stuff and really examine some of the stories that are that have been embedded in comic book stories since the 70s, there's a lot there. There are classes and college courses and stuff like that devoted to how comic book stories are structured and how they place a significant value in society and in the way that we relate to ourselves and to each other. So X-Men is definitely one of those parts of the franchise that is kind of tailor fit for that sort of thing. And I met Chris Claremont here in Chicago at one of the conventions, either C2E2 or whatever, but I was oh no, it wasn't C2E2. There's another one in town that we were covering, but Chris Claremont's a nice guy. There's another artist that I would love to meet, Dave Dorman.
Oh, I got a few pieces of Dave's work, and just amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for years, and I'm sure it sounds like we have a very good chat here. So it sounds like we got some kindred spirits in the chat. Comic book nerds were called stupid. And that's because of ignorance. People have no idea how evolved comic book storylines are. Some of the most just captivating and just powerful storylines I've ever read were in comic books.
Sure.
I made fun of, or not made fun, but I commented on the DC universe, but the Identity Crisis storyline for Justice League, you will not find a more adult storyline than that. But X-Men was always great because you and I criticize a lot of the stuff that Disney does because it's so kind of blatantly obvious what they're doing, what the agendas that they have, but X-Men was so brilliant the way Stan Lee and other writers did it, because they were telling a story and they were conveying a message without shoving it down your throat. which is what writers feel like they have the need to do nowadays, is just whatever their personal politics are to shove it down your throat. Stan Lee obviously was very adamant about these social issues, but what did he do? He created mutants, right? He didn't say it was about any particular race or gender. He created mutants and made us empathize with mutants. And, so people understood it without them, shoving it down your throat and say, you will agree with us or else,
right.
And I wish we would just get back to that.
It's funny, back in the day, there's, we had all these writers in the 60s and 70s that really wanted to get into, writing novels, the greatest American novel. And they struggled. They struggled to get published. They struggled to get a job writing. And one of the avenues that was available to them was comic book writing. And I think they kind of hid some of their secret passion projects, storylines, especially in comic book writing. And I think that's what made these story arcs so interesting to read. As kids, sometimes you don't pick up a lot of that nuanced literary
pretty pictures
narratives, but as we grow older, we're like, damn, we can go back now, and we can probably go back and flip through some of our X-Men comic books from the 80s and really take a look at them from another perspective now that we are older, which is great. I think art should be able to do that, and comic books for sure do that.
Yeah, you talk about the writer's creativity. There's, for those who haven't seen them, there's great documentaries about the the Comics Code Authority that started putting ratings on all the comics, and how they it made them harder to sell, and they had to get more creative with how they wrote things and sneaking things in there. What Spencer's saying, the stuff that you can get away with a comic book, you can't get away with on screen.
Sure.
And the stories, and you can get more introspection and more into the character's thoughts. I mean, I'll be honest with you, like my teenage years, teenage years are hard for everybody.
Sure.
And for myself, the X-Men, especially all of Marvel comics, but especially the X-Men, if I didn't have them, I'm not gonna say I wouldn't have made it through my teenage years, but that was one of the few things that actually I could, just latch onto, and, going to the comic book shop every Wednesday, picking up the new issue of X-Men, X-Force, X-Factor, whatever it was.
Right.
That definitely made those teenage years a lot easier.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about X-Men 97. I remember watching the show back in the day. I was
wondering if you did, or if you were too old, not even an old joke, but I was wondering if it was too young for you at that time.
Right. And again, I remember watching some of it. I wasn't like a real fan or follower of the show. I think I spent actually more time watching the Amazing Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, because Spider-Man for me is my favorite superhero. What's up, Crusher Combo? That's Jesse from out there in the Twitterverse. Awesome. We're gonna get together soon to do a little Beverly Crusher conversation. So, but yeah, check her channel out. She is obsessed with Beverly Crusher, which is not a bad thing. But so I remember watching the X-Men comic or animated show. Like I said, I kind of flipped back and forth. It wasn't as prevalent, I guess, in my life, but I know Danny was watching it. Danny, I guess everybody watched it before I did, X-Men 97. And again, when they announced it, I'm like, I kind of remember that show, but I was a little slow on the go. But once I started watching the series, holy crap. I think, again, one of the things that that really is lacking in today's entertainment is good writing. And when you see it, it hits you in the face in a good way, because we are so used to just the mediocrity of the programs that are on television and streaming nowadays. So I found X-Men 97 to be incredibly thoughtful and very well written. There were some episodes that just were like, wow. I wanted to skip through that Storm, Night Fever, Night Dream
Life Death.
episode was kind of
so I want to talk about that, and
yeah.
well, I'm gonna call you out on that one right now, because that is some straight Joseph Campbell shit right there.
Yeah.
You know, Joseph Campbell saying, you know, when you go into the cave, you know, you're going to find what you need.
Right.
And
exactly.
And she did. But, you know, I guess the announcement for this show, I don't know when it came out, but I guess I was on deployment when it came out. And I didn't even really know this thing was coming. And then my first thoughts were, I don't really need recycled. I thought it was going to be basically recycled material.
Right.
I thought they were going to like just pretty much like remaster what they did in the 90s. I didn't, you know, do much research into it. I'm like, we don't really need a recycled show. And then when I saw the first episode was, you know, to me kind of, it was like straight carbon copy of the original series. I'm like, I don't really need just to see a remake of the original. But then I just, you know, on to episode 2. And then after that, you know, in a day or 2 days, I binged the whole show.
Yeah, it didn't take long for me.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep going and keep going. And like I said, I was a little slow on the go, and I just every end of the episode I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. And I don't know who that writer, I don't know who Bo, whatever his last name was.
Yes.
I'm not familiar with.
He got fired.
He got fired from what? This?
He got fired from this, yes. Right before the show, right before the series started.
What?
Okay. You'll have to check out one of Danny's videos.
Well, I'm going on Danny's show, by the way, for everybody out there. Comics and Cosmetics Tuesday. I'll be there. I don't know when she's actually putting it out there, but you know, I'm going to rap with Danny about this stuff, which now I'm going to have to look into that, because he's an amazing writer. Like, so I know you didn't watch. How much were you? Did you read the comics, the X-Men in the early 90s, like 92?
Yeah, I had a lot of them.
Yeah, because the nods that he had to those storylines, you know, it was, it's kind of like this, you know, the original X-Men cartoon in the 90s. You know, they made some changes to the X-Men. You know, like Wolverine wasn't there at the very beginning. You know, he wasn't there till Chris Claremont's X-Men. You know, so they changed a few things, but the nods that they had to so many great storylines, like Days of Futures Past, we saw those like the one, or you know, presumed dead posters up on the wall, the Executioner being in there. Executioner song was a very powerful storyline in the 90s, and all
it's spelled a little weird though. It's like X.
Well, it's X dash Cutioner, because everything had to be X dash back in the 90s. But yeah, Executioner song. You know, and it was sort of subtle, but you know, staying relatively true to not only the 90s cartoon, but also a lot of those 90s storylines, which in my opinion, X-Men has not been the same since the 1990s. I think that was the last great decade for that comic book. I haven't really read it since, you know, I stopped reading it about 10, 15 years ago. It hasn't been the same, and it just, you're watching it and your jaw just keeps dropping. Like this is, I can't believe this. And then of course Morph is in there, so whenever they need to just throw more cameos, they just have Morph turn into somebody else. Right. Like, oh my god. But yeah, amazing writing.
It confused me for half a second, because like you see Angel flying around, and I'm like, oh cool, Angel. I'm like, oh, and then he morphs back into Morph, and I'm like, oh okay, I get it now.
There's some issues with that, but you know, I'll let him slide, because it's still just a cartoon.
And it's funny because this show really makes me want to go and grab some of my old comic book boxes and kind of flip through, at least just kind of look at the covers. because it's such a little bit of a nostalgic trip back to the 90s, and I really enjoy that. I think I've been wanting to kind of look through. I know there's an account that we follow that has been posting old covers of Starlog magazine, and I'm like, oh, I've got that one. Let me find it. So it's really great to see, fans, young fans and older fans kind of latch on to, the stuff that we've known, a little longer than some of the younger fans, but it's great. Other than spelling R2 as ARTOO,
It's R2,
versus
not
R2.
R2.
But yeah, it's been really great to be able to kind of see this fandom through their eyes as well, because it's kind of cool to kind of see that other people are discovering this stuff for the first time.
Yeah, and I think it sets up for a really great second season as well. I would love to see the series get darker. Like if you're in the chat and you haven't watched the cartoon, well, that's your fault for being here, because we're talking about the show. So I'm just going to throw spoilers out there. So spoiler alert: if you haven't watched the show, you can just leave and come back and check this recording later. But
we're TiVoing it for you.
They covered some of the biggest moments of 1990s X-Men, like when Magneto ripped out the adamantium from off Wolverine's bones. Like, that was a huge moment in the comic books, and I was really happy to see them include that in the cartoon. And I hope they continue that storyline, because in the comic books, what happened is Wolverine ended up going crazy after the adamantium was he basically went feral and turned into an animal for a while after the adamantium was removed. So I'm hoping that at least for an episode or two, they continue with that storyline. But now that you said they fired the writer, or I guess Disney's smart like that, who knows which direction they'll go with it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's a long story. You and Danny can talk about it on Tuesday. It's
we will.
Somebody mentioned it. Joker face. He must have been doing most of his writing in the nude on his OnlyFans account. But yeah,
what was the reason for firing?
Because he had an OnlyFans account, and
are you serious?
Yes. So
was that built into the contract?
I don't know.
God, now I got to support his OnlyFans. That's awkward. But he was.
But
if he discusses X-Men on his OnlyFans, I might sign up for it.
Yes, I think Andrew is right, but Danny has disappeared, but maybe she can chime in if she's still around regarding season 2. People are saying that he had already written most, if not all of season 2. So that should be great. Yeah. One of the things that has been getting a lot of love on Disney Plus, X-Men 97, and rightfully so.
Yeah,
really great series.
There's I posted it on Twitter, but there's a couple of storylines that I hope they go into. Sounds like a lot of our chat might be familiar with the 90s comics. You might remember when Xavier wiped Magneto's mind in the 90s. The result was a character called Onslaught, who ended up taking on the entire Marvel universe. And so it was kind of a cheesy character design. He was a mixture of Professor Xavier and Magneto, so he kind of had that Magneto look. But if they were to introduce that, and of course, all the teasers at the end talking about Apocalypse, if they went with the Age of Apocalypse, not like the shitty movie that they made a few years ago, that would be a really great storyline too. The new Geode series. I don't know what is that. I don't know what that is.
The Rock and the High Republic.
Oh, we're serious about that? That's a joke, right? I don't know what's a joke and what's serious anymore. I
know, right?
Oh, I remember that Rock. Yeah, that was before I stopped reading High Republic.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the Rock. If Red 5 reading starts doing new High Republic, I'm sorry. I'm gonna skip those weeks.
I don't think Nicole has plans for that. Yeah. So, what, one thing that surprised me about the series, again, I mentioned how it's written, but I, I would, I would venture to believe that those scripts for each episodes are pretty thick because there's a lot of drama in there. Besides, the screen direction and the action and the animated, carnage of the battles and stuff like that. There is actually a lot of character moments in each episode, as short as they are for an animated show. But there's a lot of words on paper there that one, explain a lot, and two, give so much insight to the characters, the relationship between the characters, and I find that great.
Yeah, I'll tell you one of the and they better hire his ass back. They didn't quit messing around. I will tell you, like, I didn't find it cheesy at all. One of the lines that gave me goosebumps because I thought it was just beautifully written, and I'm not sure if it was been used before in X-Men, but when Storm and Jean Grey are talking and they're about to go into battle, and Jean says, "Make them mind your weather," and then Storm comes back and make them weather your mind. I was like, holy shit. Like, that is some comic book shit right there. And they pulled it off beautifully in the series. Like, sometimes one-liners can be extremely cheesy.
Right.
And they only work on paper in comics.
Right.
But I'm like, that is a hell of a moment between two very powerful characters. And
and I think the voice actors are doing a splendid job. And earlier I mentioned that Crusher Convo might be a little obsessed with Beverly Crusher and Gates McFadden, and this demonstrates that theory. But Gates McFadden voiced Mother Axkani.
Yeah, that's another very good storyline from the 90s. And where did Cable go when after they gave the baby away,
right?
And him getting trained and basically being raised in hell, war, basically Warhammer, and then coming back to the present. So I'm glad they just alluded to that as well.
Yeah,
and all the voices have been, they I guess Gambit. Oh, we got to talk about Gambit too, but I guess Gambit had a different voice actor than the original series, and I just saw a little clip where he talked about how intimidated he was to take on this project, and he was doing it with Rogue's voice actress, and she just she told him how grave because he's like, I grew up watching this show, and like he couldn't believe that he was now the voice of Gambit, and it's Gambit's such a hard character to be an actor for because you can hear some of the worst Cajun accents when people try to do Gambit. So you can't overdo it, but I thought he did a great job. And I wasn't so sure about a couple of the voices, and I don't think they were the original. Professor Xavier and Magneto. I was kind of iffy about them. I thought they could have been a little more distinct than what they were. But I thought all the other characters did a great job.
Yeah, and they're keeping it in the spirit of the show from the 90s. I feel it's almost as if this show was created in the 90s. It's so well done.
The only thing I thought was, I don't know if he was missing it. Maybe it was intentional. I didn't think, the 90s, I think, kind of turned into the Wolverine show in a lot of ways. There's a lot of focus on Wolverine storyline and the love triangle between him, Scott, and Jean Grey. I didn't think Wolverine got much focus at all in this show, which I'm okay with, but it just they seemed unusually light on the Wolverine content.
Yeah, and with a show with so many characters, I think it's it might be a little difficult to kind of pinpoint everyone in the first season, but so far so good. I think later on when we get other characters introduced, I think everybody will get a turn. And what were some of the breakout performances in a character in the show for you? I think some folks are mentioning Nightcrawler.
I would echo with that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Nightcrawler was always one of my favorite characters in the comics, and he doesn't get enough.
He's so complex.
He is, because the character design there, like, they couldn't make him more look like a devil,
right?
And he is the most religious person, and that's in the comics as well, not just the show. He's one of the most religious people there, and he sticks to it. But to see that executed perfectly, and him, given, talking about Gambit and stuff like that was hardcore shit, like there. And then to see him fighting alongside Wolverine with 2 swords in hand, and then his tail using, and then bamfing all over the place, because everybody knows who's read the comic, it's Bamf.
Sure, yeah.
See him bamfing all over the place, like, freaking beautiful.
Yeah. Spencer in the chat mentioned also Rogue, which in my brain I want to say Rogue 1.
Yeah,
but she was another wonderful addition, and she, again, talk about complicated characters. I mean, when she grabbed what's his name and held him over the building there and then just let him go.
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand her rage. I can understand her character at that moment, and everybody's like, "No, what did you do, Rogue?" But I get it.
Yeah, and Rogue, in my opinion, has never gotten. She is literally one of the most powerful mutants out there. Everybody. She most of her abilities came from when she took out Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, whichever Marvel that was at that time. Right. Taking her abilities, and she is a highly powerful mutant, and she did a great job. And even Jubilee was not as cheesy. Like, it was hard to watch Jubilee back in the 90s. Such a corny character. Her fireworks don't do anything, but her standalone episode where there were so many great cameos in that, where she was the Motendo episode where she was in the video game. She was great in that. And they did a lot more for her character development as well.
Yes. Completely agree. And we got some nice new animated GIFs. The one I'm thinking about obviously is Rogue when she's doing her little hair thing, and what other favorite animated GIFs?
I haven't seen all those.
Oh yeah, those are great. Dancing Jubilee in the nightclub.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one. Yeah, but anybody have any questions for us in the chat? We'd love to respond to your questions.
Oh yeah, we need some questions.
We need some questions, but
whether it's the cartoon or the comics, anything X-Men related.
Yeah, it's I haven't looked at the credits for the voice actors for the show.
Yeah, I need to look at that as well.
I'm not sure, besides obviously Gates McFadden that was mentioned. I'm not sure if there's anybody on that list that I would recognize. Let's see.
X-Men 97.
Crusher Convo, is there a story from the comics you hope they do in the series?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it a little bit ago. Onslaught would be nice to see. That was from the about 1996, I think that storyline was, but or that might have been 98. Onslaught and Age of Apocalypse, and Spencer, I think, said they might have already been planning on that, but not Age of Apocalypse like you saw in the movie, where it was very not well done. But and Ro, I'm not sure if you were reading it this time, but they did Age of Apocalypse in the mid 90s, and it turned the entire Marvel universe on its head. And, good guys, some of the good guys became bad guys, and vice versa. And, it started when Xavier's son, Legion, went back in time to try to kill Magneto, and instead killed his father, killed Professor Xavier. and then Apocalypse used that opportunity to take over the universe or take over the world. And that was a very hardcore storyline, and they had to figure out from Bishop that everything was not what it was supposed to be, and they had to figure out how to restore reality to what it was. That might be a lot for a cartoon, but that would be cool, and it would probably have to be like a season 3 if they get that far, but maybe like a Civil War storyline. Something, because the X-Men did get involved with the Civil War in the Marvel universe. That might be cool to see as well.
Do you think they would bring in either this group of X-Men, or X-Men live action? I know they're starting to ramp up, the concept of Secret Wars and bringing all the heroes. And I know, some of those stories have already been changed a little bit. One of the things that pisses me off about Secret Wars is the Spider-Man suit and Venom, and how he already is in the MCU proper, but the story of the Secret Wars hasn't been told yet, and that's where the symbiote came from. But that might be too much of a nerdy thing for general audiences.
Yeah, when they did when they were talking about the Shi'ar Empire and where Professor Xavier was this entire time, they already, those alien races and stuff, they already mentioned them, so it's a possibility.
Yeah. Spencer wants to know, what did we think of the choice of the villains this season? And we got some very layered surprises there when it comes to the villains. Obviously the big villain that everybody mentions obviously is Magneto when it comes to just general X-Men, but I think they did a wonderful job with how they handled Magneto in this series, continuing from the story. But I think what are some of the other villains that we saw?
Having Mr. Sinister in there. Sinister's always been a great villain choice, because he is a very, he's the most Darwinian person in the X-Men series. He's all about survival of the fittest. He's been recreating himself since the 19th century. And I like that they kind of included that in the storyline. And the main villain, Bastion, that was a pretty cool pick for a villain in the comic books. Bastion was a hell of a villain for them to. They had a lot of trouble with Bastion, and then finding out where he came from, how he evolved, how he became this super evolved, basically Sentinel. That was an interesting pick. Now I don't, and Spencer seems to be well versed on this. I don't think that Sinister worked for him in the comics, nor do I see Sinister actually working for him. But I could be wrong. I might be misremembering that. But besides that, I think Sinister and Bastion, and seeing Magneto kind of going back and forth, I think those were great choices. And there was only 10 episodes. So they and of course the adversary with Storm's personal storyline over there. Mojo's always a stupid villain, but he's there for entertainment value only. He's not meant to be taken seriously. But I thought for a 10 episode arc that the villain choice is pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like they crammed a lot in the 10 episodes, but it didn't seem super crowded, because I think every episode kind of had its little nuance and function to the overall story.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they with the whole baby being born, with Nathan being born, I'm glad that they included Madeline Pryor in this storyline. They could have gone safe and just said it was Jean Grey that had Nathan, but I'm glad they stuck with Madeline Pryor. She was a very troubled character in the comic books, so I was glad to see her included in this. And going through that, what you saw there on screen is what they went through in the comic books, where they didn't know, they themselves didn't know who was who, because Sinister screwed them both up. So they didn't remember whose memories were actually their own. And, what came from the cloning process. So I was happy to see that included, and I think they did it. I think they did it very well.
Yeah, I know some folks mentioned the new Deadpool movie, and obviously you've seen the trailer for the Deadpool movie with Wolverine. What do you think of Wolverine's yellow suit finally coming into live action?
It's great to see. And actually, it's something that was going around. They made I like the reference to the 2000 X-Men movie in there where they got the uniforms on the cartoon, and Cyclops says, "Where are you expecting? A black, the black spandex uniform or whatever."
Yeah.
And that was a nod to the 2000 X-Men movie. It was great to see that included.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're going to be talking a lot more about the Deadpool Wolverine movie in the future when it comes out.
Sure.
I'm a little bit skeptical about it right now because it's a Disney movie now, so we'll see.
Spencer, you're right. 24 years is a lot.
But that's true. But it is so hard. Like what works in a comic book, we've talked about this before on the show. What works in a comic book does not work a lot of times in live action.
Sure.
So that's why they went with all the black suits, in the 2000 X-Men movie, because it's hard to pull off the other ones, whether it's the yellow one or the orange and brown one.
And the masks for sure.
Oh yeah.
Very very interesting. And I like looking forward to seeing Deadpool and stuff like that. Let's pivot a little bit, and I know you didn't want to mention it as often anymore, but I do want to mention it tonight. We have a contest going for a PlayStation 4. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So we have our 200th episode coming up very quickly. Like I said earlier, we have a bunch of shows planned already to get us to that 200 mark. And to mark the occasion, we want to give away a PlayStation 4. Of course, I was told on Twitter, bad timing, bro. Everybody hates Sony right now. Sorry, my apologies. I'm sorry I didn't have an extra Xbox around to give, but it is a fully functional PS4. And we want to give that away to somebody that could use it more. And we made it real easy to enter the contest. Please just go to our X account, look at the pinned tweet there. That has the entire thread. Very simple directions. There's only 3 things you got to do, and they're in the tweet. 3 things. That's it. And you'll be entered. You'll be entered into the contest, and you can enter every day. I'm just making it more painful for myself. You can enter every day. What Spencer said, it's true. It's like iPhone. Everybody dogs on iPhone. Everybody's got an iPhone. Whatever.
PlayStation's still one of my favorite pieces of technology around the house. It's so versatile.
Yeah. I got a PS5 now, and anybody plays Helldivers in the chat, hit me up. We'll play some Helldivers. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, just look at the pin tweet, follow the directions. Make sure out of all of them, you hashtag it Scuttlebutt200, because that's how I'm looking up all the entries. There's a reason. There's a method to my madness.
Sure.
Make sure you hashtag it Scuttlebutt200, because that's how I'm looking up the entries. All right. And then we'll pick a winner. We need to get to 200 entries because we didn't want to have just 2 people enter the contest for a PS4. We want to get people involved and grow the community. So, Spencer, I got you. Wookiees and cream. All right. Maybe I should just I'll type that in the chat. I'll put that on there. You guys can find me. You guys should know what my screen name would be. Kudos to my daughter, actually, who came up with this name. Wookiees and cream. You can find me on PlayStation. Wookiees and cream. We'll play some stuff on there. Let me know if you send me a friend request on PlayStation, because I ignore most of them because I don't know who the hell they are. But Spencer, I'll definitely add you on Twitter. But again, look at the tweet, look at the pin tweet on our profile. I think the third tweet in is the instructions on there. It'll take you about 20 seconds to enter, and we will announce the winner. We can ship to anywhere in the continental U.S., maybe Canada. I say that because we've had a contest in the past that I had to ship to England, and that's expensive.
Yes.
And I'm not made of money. So anywhere in the continental U.S., please enter. And we can't wait to give that away on our 200th Scuttlebutt episode.
That would be awesome. And we do have, we would love to give everyone some Scarif swag besides the PlayStation, but a bit of a, what do you call it? Second winner. What do you call it? Follow up?
Runner up?
Runner up. There you go. Runner up to this contest. I am putting together a nice little swag pack for the runner up. We've been getting a lot of folks that have been following the instructions on our contest, but the runner up, I'm going to be able to put together a nice Scarif Scuttlebutt swag pack. You'll get some stickers, you'll get a t-shirt, you'll get some Funko Pops, some other collectibles that are just sitting in the Scarif Scuttlebutt warehouse here collecting dust, and I'll put together a little swag pack for a lucky runner-up. So please join us in the contest. Make sure that you interact and follow the instructions.
Can you throw up the comment from the chat from, let me see where it is. Talk about Tatooine. Just going back to Helldivers for a second. I said that a few weeks ago to myself. There needs to be a Star Wars game that looks exactly like Helldivers. You're still playing Need for Speed, so you haven't checked out Helldivers yet.
Right.
But whenever
2001 edition.
Yeah, whenever you get done with Need for Speed, you should be on the final level by now. Check out Helldivers because and actually you can check out, some people have made some videos where they did combine Star Wars with Helldivers, and because Battlefront sucked. I still play Battlefront, but it sucked ass. It's a shit game, but I still play it because it's Star Wars and I'm a simp. But all we want is a real war game for Star Wars, and if they get because all I gotta do is get the creators of Helldivers to make one for Star Wars, and that shit would be epic, and run it as the Empire. You got to be the Empire, just like they did with your Super Earth on Helldivers. If they, yes, Spencer is correct. Again, Spencer is nailing it tonight. The original Battlefront 2 was the best. Everything since then has been shit. But if Star Wars made that, and you were the Empire, and you're going around and hunting rebels, oh man, it would be amazing.
Very nice.
But like I said, you can check out some videos online where people have kind of made their own, where they kind of modded in the Star Wars characters, and it looks really awesome as expected.
That's pretty cool. Excellent. All right. Any final thoughts on X-Men or our little discussion here? All things nerd.
I'm going to rewatch it for sure in the near future, because like I said, there were so many nods to storylines. There were so many cameos, and like you said, they packed a lot into 10 episodes.
They packed a lot, and it moves briskly, and it's not you can get through 10 episodes, especially if they're all out. You can get through 10 episodes in one or two sittings.
I watched it like a movie. I mean, it flowed that well. So I'll definitely be checking it out again in the next couple months, probably. Good stuff.
Yep. And it'll take you about 3.5 weeks to get that song out of your head. Please do not hit skip.
Oh, as somebody posted online, I'm sure a bunch of people have. If you skip that song,
you have no soul.
You're soulless. You can't. I don't know why the button is even there for skip intro. You go straight to hell. Do not pass go. Don't talk about Apex Legends. All right, no, I suck at it. No, don't talk about that game. My son makes me play that, and I'm absolutely horrible. Anyway, X-Men 97, great stuff. I'm glad we got to talk about it. And like I said earlier, I got a question, so I got to keep yapping. Brad, do you have the book X-Men House of X yeah, House of X. I'm sure I do somewhere in the closet with all my comic book stuff. And a lot of the stuff I love it because you can get it as graphic novels, hardbound these days. That stuff is great and shows how powerful. Like people talk about the Scarlet Witch. I guess in the minority. I love this Scarlet Witch movie. A lot of people didn't, but Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. So it was great to see her as a badass. I think that was probably one of the last, in my opinion, decent storylines for the X-Men. I couldn't even tell you what's going on these days, but
yeah, absolutely. All right, guys in the chat, thank you very much. We a couple of quick ending announcements. If you are in the chat or if you're watching the replay and wanted to react to us after the show, we have a hotline set up. So why don't you give the Scarif Scuttlebutt hotline a call at 773-234-8659 and respond or react to anything we said tonight or anything that we have said in the past about the show, about Star Wars, Marvel, comics, whatever. We'd love to hear your comments and, react to it on a future show. And obviously, when we have T-shirt sales on our Scarif TeePublic site, look for those announcements on Twitter. Be able to save a couple of bucks when we go on sale. I know we just had a sale last weekend where I think if you put in May, the word May, the month of May, you get 25% off. So check that out. Go to TeePublic and search Scarif Scuttlebutt, and you'll find not only our shirts, but you'll find some of our Red 5 Network T-shirts from other shows, and order one and walk around the hood, and maybe somebody will strike a conversation, and you can tell
so yeah, I forgot to mention earlier, talking about the Comic-Con, both my wife and I were sporting the Scarif hoodies. I had the time, welcome to the Empire, timeshare is available on Scarif hoodie, and she had her blue Scarif, and they get noticed, folks. I heard somebody walk by and they said, "Ooh, Scarif," and they giggled because they get it, folks. They get it. And told another lady the name of our podcast, actually, the one I mentioned earlier that gave me all the cool stuff, the fangirling over Jesus group or vendor. She'd actually heard of the Scarif Scuttlebutt. So we are, wow. Yeah, we're getting there, my friend. We're getting there.
Internet famous.
But we. All 5 of them, they love us. But yeah, get that swag because people will like you, and they'll start talking to you.
They'll start talking to you. But yeah, it's always wonderful to kind of strike up a conversation at a convention. And if you have the ability to go to a convention, I think it's always advisable because it's a lot of fun. You get to meet some cool people and grab some awesome swag. I got a couple of new Scarif sticker designs, and actually I'm waiting for some more. Once I get these other ones, I'm going to send you. I already sent you some of these, didn't I?
Yeah.
And then I got some other Scarif stickers coming my way that they should be here by the time we do our next show on the 25th. So that'll be a lot of fun. I like to put together some sticker swag packs, so hit me up whenever I call for a question of the week or a hot takes, Tatooine hot takes. Please, one of the biggest reasons we started the Scarif podcast is to interact with other nerds, so please interact with these 2 nerds right here. Guys,
I'm so glad you kept up with Tatooine hot takes and Sentry mode. I thought for sure when I went away you would just drop those like a bad habit. I'm glad you kept that going.
People really enjoy the Sentry mode. The questions I had a whole bunch of people just itching at the bit to come on and test their knowledge of the nerds.
I don't think that's the same, but I get what you're putting down.
Excellent.
I think they were chomping at the bit.
Chomping at the bit. What did I say?
Itching at the bit. I mean, but you might want to get that checked out.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent. Folks in the chat, thank you very much for stopping by this Saturday. Again, just a reminder, we'll do something next week because it's actual Star Wars Day, not this May the 4th crap.
Yeah.
May
that's for the commercialism stuff.
That's exactly marketing. But until next time, Brad, why don't you tell folks where people can find you to say hello there?
You can find us everywhere. Ro, both of us, we like to both post on Scarif podcast on Twitter, so you don't know who you're talking to. You guys always think you're talking with Ro. Half the time it's me, and it's hilarious because you always think you're talking to him. You can find me. I'm just Brad. Yes, I created my 5th or 10th Twitter account. Deal with it. I don't care. Yeah, it probably is. But that right down there, that one right there. That's where you can find me on Twitter. Please come find me. I do want to talk to you on there, and I promise not to be a troll anymore. And of course, you can find us anywhere where you like to listen to your favorite podcast. If you're here in the chat, I'm sure you're already doing that. But let a friend know as well, so we can, as always, make our nerdy community bigger and better.
Absolutely. And we are proud founding members of the Red 5 Network. If you are familiar with the Red 5 Network, please spread the word. And if you want to check out the rest of the Red 5 Network team, we are located at bio.link/Red5. Until next time, one thing that we forgot to ask, I want to ask the chat if you guys want to post a comment on Twitter. Brad had challenged the Star Wars Twitter community that we are part of. If there's a certain post that he wanted to make it go viral, at least 1,138 retweets. And
we're
if we
so
got
close.
that, we're so close. If
So
we got
close.
1138 retweets on that post, then he was going to make me watch The Last Jedi. But I think it's one of the things that we probably should do just for fun. And then invite some of our friends and folks in. Maybe Nicole can.
Lots of this will be involved.
Yes, lots of drinking will be involved, but we're going to do a mystery science theater version of a watch party for The Last Jedi. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But I definitely want to get some feedback from the folks that are listening now, and the folks that follow us on Twitter, if that's something that you guys would want to see. I know, we've made our opinions very apparent regarding the sequel trilogy, especially that middle film, but I think it'll be fun. I think I've only seen it twice in my lifetime. Third's the charm. Maybe I'll like it after.
Man, I keep trying. I keep trying to go. I will go back and try, and I cannot. I can't do it, man. Like we go to the casino and I'm done. Like it's all I can do to make it that far. But wow. And maybe I mean, if you really like the movie, I don't know if anybody in this chat currently does. If you really like the movie, I'm not sure if you want to show up to the party. But we would love to hear while we're completely intoxicated why you love the movie while we're watching it, and point out to us when they're happening, which parts you really like, because maybe we missed them. Maybe it was in between your mama and Mary Poppins, and we just missed it, or the milking the space cow. Like maybe we missed it. So we would love, if you want to subject yourselves to our hatred, we would love for you to be there.
Absolutely.
And tell us what we missed.
Yes. Talk about Tatooine says Star Wars drinking games are always a win. And I think you are correct, but always fun times here.
Make sure you're at home. Make sure you're at home.
Right.
When we do this, because
it's definitely not safe for work.
Plastered by the time we're done with it.
Yeah.
We should make a drinking game out of it.
Definitely. And quick announcement again, just real fast. ScarifCon 5, our Red 5 get together, will be happening on October 26th. So watch for that date and watch for more details as the date approaches. But we always have friends come to Chicago and hang out, and maybe we can have a drink with everyone as well. But excellent, folks. Thank you very much for joining us here on tonight's Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. #ScarifLive. So look for our live shows whenever we announce them, usually on Saturdays. I'm gonna hit you up with some questions when we're done. Star Wars Meg wants to do a show with us. I think she's in the UK, but we are like 6 hours ahead, so we're going to have to kind of finagle our time maybe during the week, if it's possible to be able to kind of meet her halfway. We have another podcast that is also interested in joining us for a couple of the review shows once the Acolyte starts. So we got a lot of friends out there that we'll be able to chat with and are kind of knocking on our door to join us and talk nerdy stuff. So if that's what you like to do, is get online and talk about cool nerdy stuff, all of the awesome stuff that the kids are listening to and talking about, then the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast is the podcast for you and the show for you. So thank you everyone again for being with us in the chat here. It's been a lot of fun. And until next time, that is the Scuttlebutt. Don't miss next week's episode of the Scarif podcast. I think it's episode 192. I'm talking with Dave and Lenore from What Does Star Wars Mean to You? And we're going to be talking about how Star Wars is generational and how folks brought their kids to see Star Wars Episode 1 back in 1999. So listen for that. Check out Brad, follow him, and bother him because he's a troublemaker. But
I need more of that in my life. Yes.
Excellent. All right, guys. Until next time, that's Brad and I'm Ro. We are the Scarif Scuttlebutt Podcast.